Welcome to Bite Size Dental Marketing. Today I have Dr. Kyle Stanley with me. Dr. Stanley is a dentist at Helm Nijad Stanley Dentistry in Hollywood, California, and the Chief Clinical Officer of Pearl, a dental AI technology platform. Dr. Stanley, thank you so much for jumping on the show. I appreciate your time. I've watched you speak a couple of times, I believe at IDS, and you were talking to a Dr. Benica. And
hmm
one of the things that I loved Pearl AI was originally around assisting in the diagnosis, but when the physicians start presenting it to patients is really when it started clicking around the real value of it. I loved hearing about that. I think it shows to the depth of the product development and the value of the tool you're developing. But before we get in there, I would love to hear about your journey through dentistry and what led you into Pearl.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And I've had a fairly interesting journey in dentistry in that I've had my hands in a lot of different areas. I have a private practice, like you said. I taught at a university for 9 years. I have written research and published a lot of papers and also done speaking, traveling around the world and teaching other doctors how to do things. So I really had my hands in a lot of different areas of dentistry. I even consult for a laboratory and, now starting Pearl years ago, it's interesting to see how much opportunity there is in dentistry. My dad's a dentist. He practiced for 45 years. My brother's a dentist. He's been practicing for almost 20 years. And I thought that everybody in dentistry does what my dad does, which is like have a private practice, by yourself, do that for 40, 50 years and then retire. And so I didn't even know all of this opportunity was there in dentistry. And it's been really rewarding to have my hand in a multitude of different areas within our profession.
Yeah. Now, having that depth and breadth of dentistry and pause on Pearl for a moment, outside of AI, which is, I mean, you can't go on TV, internet. I mean, AI is the zealotry of today. Through your time, what do you think is the biggest advancement in dentistry?
Before AI, I think it was guided treatment. So, like
Mm-hmm.
guided surgery, I was a big proponent of that. I still am. I think what's coming more now is guided preparation. So, actually guiding your veneer preps, crown preps. There's a great company called First Fit that's doing really cool stuff with that, also utilizing AI. But I think really the two things that I'm really excited about are, of course, AI and the use of airway. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is really going to be a huge future in dentistry.
Yeah. Now, when you were launching Pearl, I know it was originally to assist in the diagnosis and the clinician side. Walk me through those early days and when did you know that this was, because I'm sure you went through a similar of, we had two or three accounts at one point and then it was 10. And at some point we're like, oh my God, this is a real
This is
thing.
happening.
This is happening. Yeah. And it got
hmm
super exciting. Walk me through your emotional journey there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Pearl was incubated within a previous company called Gum Gum, which was
Mm-hmm.
founded by our CEO. And then we ended up spinning it out and raising our own round of financing back in 2019. But it's evolved over time, and what we thought it would be, it is now, but it's also much more. It's also much different. There's also things that even don't incorporate AI that we didn't realize that we would need, right? But a lot of our clinicians were asking for it. So yeah, I think with us it was when our FDA approval, we got 9 FDA approvals at one time. When that really happened, everything exploded. I mean, around the world, we're in over 100 countries now. So seeing that uh, happen was pretty incredible. Oh, we need Brazilian Portuguese translation and we need Italian translation and, we need it in all these different languages. And that was really, really powerful. But going back to your original question, starting out with assisting doctors in diagnosis was
Mm-hmm.
really our initial goal, right? I mean, we wanted to raise the standard of care in general. That was our true goal. doing that by assisting doctors in diagnosis. And on the back end, we knew in any radiograph where was enamel, dentin, caries, pulp, restorations, background, bone, and we started displaying that just as a way of kind of making it look pretty.
Mhm.
And what we found was that dentists were using that specific feature so much to explain the treatment better to their patients. And so it was having this synergistic effect where the doctors are now finding more disease. And not only are they finding more disease, but then the patients are accepting more treatment. So really, it's growing the businesses really, really well and raising the standard of care because many of these lesions were previously missed by the doctors.
Mhm. Now, do you? I've noticed over time, and I'm going to go to 2016. It seems that I'll give you just a. We almost never used to have meetings on Fridays because dentists were off on Fridays, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't want. And now almost all of the dentists we work with want to meet on Friday because that's their day off.
Mm.
And it seems like over the past 2 or 3 years that they've really prioritized their clinical hours significantly more diligently and things like this. I think a side product of that is we do some research on the marketplace in our offices, and we're seeing that not only are dentists spending less time per patient, but the patients feel that too.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think that the relationship plays in that a dentist establishes with the patient with showing them on AI? I mean, certainly it adds to the mix, but how do you see those two things play hand in hand? The
Yeah,
marrying of
so
technology and relationship.
we
Sorry.
have a big problem in dentistry, and that is the trust deficit that we have. Patients come into our practice not trusting us, strictly because we're a dentist, and
Hmm.
there's bad connotations in the media and a lot of mistrust just from not knowing, right? It's like when I love cars, but when I go to my mechanic, he could show me the brakes, he could take them out, and I would say, I don't even know what I'm looking at, you know?
Or are they from my
So,
car? Even
yeah.
worse, yeah.
So having something that is unbiased, that is automated, and has no incentive to find more is a great way to build trust with the patient, and especially a new patient, right?
Hmm.
Because over time, we build trust with the patients, right? We give them a good injection, and they're like, wow, I didn't even feel that. Ah, okay, trust is built. And then, we tell them they don't need something, and oh, trust is built. And over time, you definitely build that. But new patients come in and they don't know you from another dentist, and you say they need something, they think, oh, he or she just found this and they want to, make their car payment this month or something. But when you can say, look, our third party AI system found something, this is trained by thousands of doctors from around the world, and I actually agree with it. So I think that we should actually get that treatment plan today. It it really, because it's non-biased, our product is called second opinion for a reason, that it's a built-in second opinion. The doctor is still the first opinion, but it's built in. It's like having another doctor there coming in and going,
Hmm.
yep, I agree, and then walking out of the room. So that's been really powerful for people, and that's why we see case acceptance go up so much.
We have added it to the website of probably a dozen of our practices. And A, AI is so popular right now that,
Right.
those, ironically, it helped the SEO of those practices just almost overnight by adding the page.
Interesting.
Um, but two, by the homepage is 87% of the time the most popular page by a mile.
Yeah.
But suddenly those pages started getting meaningful growth and page views. And
Mm.
I think when you marry that with some of the research that we've looked at around today more than ever, if I told you, hey, we were on the pre-show, we were talking about we have kids. Like if I said, hey, I have a great pediatrician that you should go to,
Mm.
I think 10 years ago you would have just picked up the phone and called because we know and trust each other,
Yeah.
but I think today you Google them, you'd hit the website, and then you would call.
Yep.
And today more than ever, new patients are not soliciting one or two people for a referral. They're sourcing multiple people, obviously not their spouse, but
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're coming in. I think you nailed it. I think that most of the offices we have that struggle with treatment acceptance have some form of trust deficit or operational
Yes.
issues that they're not overcoming. And it's certainly, it is added. We see the treatment accepted go up when we have begin to market the Pearl AI product for
Interesting.
the offices.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, I have colleagues that are fantastic clinicians, but they're not great at talking with people. And they're not as successful just
Hmm.
because that trust, right? Just because they can't sit and talk with a patient, look them in the eye, and have that human to human connection because our patients are making decisions based on trust.
Uh-huh.
It's like my wife always gives me crap that the mechanic that we go to, he's like 40 minutes away from our house. She's like, can't you find a mechanic down the street? Like, we live in a city where there's other mechanics. And I'm like, no, I go to him because I trust him. That's why I go to him. He's more
Hmm.
expensive, but I go to him because I trust him. And I
That's right.
know that if I need something, he'll do it. If I don't need something, he won't do it.
Now, I have a question for you. We have a theory here in the agency that well, I won't say it's a theory, I would say it's a practice. We believe that the average rank and file consumer does not clinically know the difference between a good dentist and a bad dentist. That we're making purely emotional decisions of, I like you, I connected with you, ergo, I associate you with being a clinically good dentist, right? And they're the
Exactly.
best. Dr. Stanley's the best. I mean, how many times have you heard that? We've had what, two or three dentists in our lives, maybe? The best
Right.
is such a goofy term. Now, it's interesting, as you were talking about your mechanic, you have no idea if he's a great mechanic or an average mechanic, but
Yeah,
that relationship is what matters. And
exactly.
I think, to me, that's, if I had a magic wand and all my dentists understood, one thing, it's that I want you to clinically be a great dentist, but I really want you to understand that the human being behind those teeth is making emotional decisions on you, not clinical decisions. And
Yeah.
I love
And
the
that
second opinion.
example that I gave with, a colleague or something that is a great dentist, but not very successful because of their interpersonal skills, you see the opposite much more,
Hmm.
which is a very average dentist or below average dentist that is fantastic at marketing, great interpersonal skills, their Instagram is good, this and that. And you may look at their work and go, but they're killing it and they've got people waiting in line for them. And it's kind of interesting, right?
It's we see it every day on the marketing side.
I
We
bet.
do. Yeah. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. I have, know some friends, I think, who've contributed to some dentists that have contributed to some of the research and radiograph, looking at things like
Hmm.
that. Walk me through some of the product development, and how have you honed the product in to be accurate?
You pretty much have to get thousands of dentists from around the world to analyze radiographs and go through and say, this is caries, 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 hundreds of thousands or even millions of times. And then you feed that into the computer, and the computer takes that input data and starts to figure it out on its own. So I always relate it back to a child. I have a 1 year old, I have a 6.5 year old. And like with a child, you tell them, this is red, this is blue. This is red, this is blue. This is red, this is blue. If you tell them enough times, they start to figure it out. But at the very beginning, they may guess right. They have 50% chance. They may guess right. Or they may guess wrong. You say, no, 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 that's not red. This is red. And you do that enough times and they start to learn that. And it's very similar to how a machine learns. Years and years ago in 2015, 2016, when we started this project, we had people doing this and we would train models and it wasn't very good. It would find areas that definitely weren't caries. It would find areas that were, but it was marked in a weird place or something. And you have to give it feedback and say, no, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. Over time, it eventually learns where it can kind of be to a superhuman level. But I think a misconception of AI is that, like, people think that you take a bunch of radiographs, put them into an AI, and it figures it out. put them into the machine and it figures it out. No, you have to have labeled data. And that's what takes so long, and that's why it's so expensive to do something like this, is because you have to pay dentists, and dentists are expensive.
Hmm.
Like if we were trying to find a cat in a photo or an apple in a photo, you can take anybody off the street and say, tell me where the apple is. But a dentist, you need an expert trained eye to find it. So that's kind of the process. And that's really to get each individual model. And the model is, whether it says it's caries or not, or perichoroidal lucencies, or bone loss, or wide and periodontal ligaments. But then putting that into a product is a whole nother aspect, right? How are they going to use it? How is it going to be used in their workflow? What is their staff going to think of it? How is the team going to use it? The assistant, the hygienist, the front office, and thinking about every aspect of that product is fairly complex.
Hmm. Walk me through your dream sort of install or implementation of the second opinion, and
Mm-hmm.
how are you training your staff? How's the dentist leveraging it? Walk me through your dream state on that.
Yeah, I mean, our dream is that it's really like a one touch, one click install. So you say, I want it, you click on it, it downloads onto your server, and it's right there. But we do the training because this is such a new product. I mean, relatively, no one's ever really had AI before in their practice. But they're like, okay, this is cool, but how do I use it?
Hmm.
How do I talk to patients about it? How do I have my staff use it? So we usually just install it. It doesn't take very long. We remote in and install it onto the server. And then we usually do like 2 30-minute trainings with the team and the doctors involved. And then they go. So it's pretty low touch and high yield. You get a lot out of it with not that much involvement.
Hmm.
And it lives right there in your workflow. So the only change that you have to make is, instead of pulling up your normal imaging platform, you just pull up the Pro window.
Hmm. Yeah. And how fast is it analyzing the radiographs?
Yeah, that depends on the internet speed and a few other aspects, but I'd say the average is probably around 20 seconds right now. I mean, we have some people that are higher, but some of that is because of their internet speed. But the
Hmm.
average is around 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So what I usually say is, like, if you're taking a set of bite wings, by the time you take your second bite wing, the first one will be up.
Nice. And now, walk me through how most of your practitioners are utilizing the software today. Like, are they getting it installed and immediately sort of rolling it out to patients? Are they getting installed and making sure it's nothing crazy or embarrassing is happening? And then kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, I think how most people are using it is they're using it on every patient, but their assistants are taking radiographs. They're usually viewing it in another room, because AI is great, but it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It makes mistakes sometimes, just like we make mistakes. It can find something, you say, oh no, that's not open margin, or oh no, that's not calculus. And it can also miss things as well, just like a human. So that's why it's called second opinion. Like I told you before, the human is the first opinion. So usually they're viewing it in another room, and they're going through and just verifying everything looks good. Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay. Oh, yeah, no, that's not caries. Delete that. You can just get rid of it. And then once it's looking good, then they bring it in and talk to the patient and have their consultation with the patient. So they're showing them different areas of the tooth and where the bone is and why they may have periodontal disease, why they, may need root canal, whatever that is, but really using it visually. And that is what we've found has been so powerful, is showing the patient, look, we've gone through enamel into dentin. That's why this one we need to do. This one's still in enamel. We can just watch that one, right? Or, there's something happening above this tooth. I'd like to check it and make sure everything's okay with this. Really showing them, because when we look at black and white images or shades of gray, you show patients and they go, what the hell? I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. Like,
Mm-hmm.
every dentist will have this patient that goes, are those toes? Am I looking at toes? And you're like, no, those are your teeth. Why would we be looking at toes? And now you have color and polygons and lines and different shades. It's a lot easier to explain things to the patient and therefore build that trust.
That's great. Now, what's next for the product? Are there, where are you taking it next?
Yeah, I mean, we're always improving. So this is also another misconception about AI is that it improves on its own. It doesn't improve on its own. It always needs human input to improve, but it's always improving because we're always putting effort into it.
Mhm.
So all the models are getting better. We're expanding for other models. We're going to more countries around the world. We're bringing in different aspects of practice management that may help people. So there's a fairly long roadmap that we have ahead, and it's pretty incredible what will be coming, even by the end of this year.
Yeah, that's great. It is such an amazing time that, it's funny to hear all the AI is so new, and I say new in the world of us. I mean, I know it's been around for a few years, but it's really blown up over the last,
Yeah, new for like general consumers, I
new
think.
consumers, right? And
Mhm.
it's so funny to hear all the fear about it's going to replace these and replace that. But really, there's even in our field, we have all the creative and video editors are so concerned that AI is going to replace them.
Right.
If you're good at your job, it's never going to replace you. I think it's going to always supplement you and improve your quality of life, and
Hmm.
it's going to add to your life, not subtract. And it's funny
Yeah,
to
I
hear the
mean
doomsayers.
there will be workplace redundancy for some jobs, and
Hmm.
I always explain this as like if your job you do one thing and one thing only. If you're like a if you act like a machine, you'll be replaced like a machine, by a machine. So like the old I Love Lucy, right? Where she's just like taking the chocolate off of the conveyor belt. If all you do is take chocolate off of the conveyor belt, you'll probably get,
Hmm.
you won't have that job
You're at
anymore.
risk, yeah.
Yeah. But, a lot of people tell me, well, I'm so afraid that the AI is going to take over my job. And I'm like, this is assisting in reading radiographs. What else do you do all day? You write notes, you treatment plan, you build trust with the patient, you inject the patient, you prep the tooth, you temporize the tooth, you design the smile, you extract, like, it's not doing anything like that.
Right.
Dentistry is so multifaceted that jobs like ours will not be replaced
Hmm.
by AI. But there are jobs that will be replaced by AI. I don't think we should downplay that, but it's ones that are very, you do one thing
Hmm.
and you do one thing over and
And it's
over and over and
repeatable
over and
and
over again.
measurable, and yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and we'll link out to the website and things like that for our listeners. But I can't thank you enough for your time and appreciate it.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the support.